Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. Right, welcome everyone. My guest this week is Amy Wolff. And Amy is someone I haven't met until today. And I reached out to her because I heard of her movement. Say the name, Amy.
Don't Give Up movement.
Thank you. The Don't Give Up movement. I was thinking about signs. So Amy is going to tell us what she does, but I heard of her on John O'Leary's. I signed up for his newsletter a couple weeks ago. I just read his book on fire, which is amazing. And then I got this email and he was talking about you. I think you were on his podcast and I looked you up and I'm like, oh my God, what a cool idea, what your idea is. And I'll let you share it in a minute. And so I'm like, I got to reach out to her because it sounds awesome. I'm sure people are like commenting and how awesome it is all over the place. So thanks for the work you're doing. Tell everyone what you're doing and what it's all about. And then we'll jump into the questions.
Yeah, honored to be here. I accidentally started a global movement of spreading hope and love via yard signs. Who knew that was genius? I didn't. I was desperate to do something. In 2017, there was a string of suicides in our small town here in Newberg, Oregon, just south of Portland. And I am a doer. I remember sitting there thinking, what can I do? I can't do nothing. Right. That's just what I resolved. I can't do nothing with the angst I feel, the suffering around me. So I'm going to print yard signs. We printed 20, my husband and I, with words like, don't give up. You are worthy of love. Then we asked strangers to stake signs in their yards for 2 weeks. It was just a young family trying to do something to stir up hope, not as a Band-Aid to gaping wounds, not to fix depression. This was not a magic wand. This wasn't even a solution. It was cheering people on. It was just cheering people on. It became a thing, Julie. It exploded. People, where did these signs come from? We want one in our yard. And I thought, what? And it wasn't people necessarily that were struggling with mental illness. It was people fighting cancer, going through divorce, trying to leave an abusive relationship, trying to jumpstart a dream in their career. I mean, so many reasons people saw through whatever lens of struggle, they saw the sign and took hope for themselves. And it was profound. Unexpected, simple, and profound. So we spread to all 50 states in over 26 countries within 18 months of randomly staking 20 signs in our small town here. We have other products, wristbands, car decals, stickers, pins, pencils. We don't make any money. We sell it all as close to at cost as possible. I have a different day gig, which maybe will come up in our conversation, one that actually pays the bills. But this has become a huge passion project on the side.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love that you said, like, what can I do? Like you said, I don't have a major solution, but I have to do something. I can't do nothing. And you said you're a doer, which I'm not surprised. Most women, when you hear about people being doers, I'm not saying men aren't doers. I'm not saying men don't have a ton of value and aren't awesome, but actually it's women to say, like, what else can I do? And we're always usually have a busier schedules too, probably. But we're like, I have to do something. And like you said, you're seeing it and you're like, I can't just sit around and talk about it and then do nothing. And admirably, that's what most people would do. They'd say, this sucks. This is wrong. This is bad. What can I do? Like, what are you going to do? Like I can do nothing. And most people would say, like, what are you going to do about 100%. It? It's like, you can do something, but every movement starts with one idea, one person. Every product, every idea, everything you use starts with one person thinking, what if I could do this? And so you just said,
and it's so cliche. I mean, there might be people listening and go, this is so cliche. This is so, okay, just do the one thing, do the something.
Yeah.
I mean, the signs themselves in the product we sell is so cliche, but Julie, if we did act on what angst stirs up in our heart, when we're compelled, when we read a headline and it just strikes us different, if we all did something, it could be astonishing, the impact. And I would have scoffed at that if I was not front seat to watching a global movement explode and thousands of people taking our product and doing projects with them, doing sign rallies in Ohio. Dana, because of her grandson who died by suicide, took these signs, took a pack of 10. It exploded in her community. She has over 1,200 volunteers doing sign rallies at all the schools. To a dad in Seattle who stuck him out in his daughter's school because he heard of students suffering with depression. I mean, people are choosing to do a thing with our signs, and it's their own passion project. They have their own reason why. And this is the beautiful, contagious essence of kindness and love, is when we encounter it and it stirs hope, it is contagious. It spreads. And it's amazing. And I'd be lying if I thought it was a good idea. I was putting the signs in my trunk that day and thought, this is the dumbest idea I've ever had. This is almost embarrassing.
What did your husband say when you're like, I want to make some signs? What'd your husband say? You're like, let's make some signs and put them outside. Was he like, okay, Amy?
No, I was the one saying, this is $140. This is going to be kind of expensive. Should we do this? He said, yes. And he was the one that said, you need a website, you need a way to collect money. He bought me the URL. So actually he was wind in the sails.
Okay.
When things started picking up, are we a business? Do we need a license? What is happening? What are we? And we decided we're just a movement. And then we legally became a nonprofit when people started sending us money and they didn't know me. And they didn't know Vanjie and Jessica, 2 women on the board who are actively engaged in the movement. They didn't know us and they were sending us money. And I thought, we need legal accountability. You should know that we file paperwork and it's not going into my pocket. So that we did become a legal organization.
That's saying a lot about you and your husband too, that people are just sending you money, not even knowing you. So there's something in your essence that's coming through saying, I can trust you. Like, you're going to do something good with my money. You're not just going to take my money and then not buy a sign and put it out or whatever you said you were going to do with it. Because people feel it. People know when you're being sincere, obviously, and people know when you're kind-hearted and when it's true. So that's a testament to you, but that's awesome. That's awesome. Like, it's also such a great example of, you can just do, it doesn't take so it's $140. If you said to a 20-year-old, like we have a 19-year-old in college, $140 is a lot to him. I'll make that in a couple of days at work, you know? It doesn't have to be $140. It could have just been one sign somewhere that you put it, you know, you could have spent $5. You could have put out an email or an Instagram. It could have cost you nothing. So it doesn't cost any money usually. And it's just all those things that come from your heart and have the intention of doing something good people can feel, and then people want to pick it up and do something of their own. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your regular, so what do you do now that you even were, what do you do now? And then do you love what you do? And obviously you love what you do with the movement. Do you love what you do in your day jobs? Yeah. What's that?
Yeah, I do. I have my dream job. I found it in my late 20s. It came through a family business. Over 26 years ago, my father started a coaching business to support businesses, corporations, business professionals on how to become better presenters. Speaker coaching. I joined the business about 9 years ago, I think now. My father will retire this year and hands off the whole business to me. So I just became president of Distinction Communication. We get hired all over the country and all over the world, typically to work in large businesses, supporting sales teams, executives, or anyone who wants to not feel terrified when they're doing a status update meeting or speaking in front of a board of directors or clients or partners. Maybe they're fundraising. So we help them do that more confidently. We videotape. Julie, have you ever been videotaped speaking? It's terrible. It's painful, but we videotape so people can see what their audience sees, what their habits are, and give them clear coaching. I love my job. People come in super anxious, they lose sleep, they don't know what to expect for a public speaking workshop. They know I'm going to record them, and they walk out of the room feeling, I can totally do this.
Yeah.
There's not a mystery. She demystified it. She gave me the 4 skills. I have clear feedback on each one. And in 8 hours, I saw before and after complete progress. I don't suck. And I love that. I love the cheering people on. And I guess in one way I do that on yard signs, and then the other I get paid to do that in corporations.
That's awesome. Is it still the statistic? I remember I've been a trainer for a long time, so I'm not uncomfortable with it, but I know so many people are. It used to be like next to death. Wasn't it like the second most
No, it was more than death.
What is it?
Mm-hmm. More than death.
More than death. I mean, I get it. And I just feel bad for people when they especially when they have a lot to offer and they have something important to say and they just are too anxious to say it or can't say it clearly or whatever it is. If they don't trust themselves and have the confidence, and it's really just about it's not about the thing they have to say, it's about how they're saying it, and they don't want to come off a certain way. People are intimidated by it. I get it. So I'm glad that
absolutely
helping them to be more.
Here are my 3 tips. Can I give you my 3 really high level tips?
Yes, of course.
Strangers ask me, oh, I hate public speaking. It's just not my thing. And if I had a penny every time someone told me that. Just because it's uncomfortable or you don't have to do it often doesn't mean it can't be your thing. So here are the 3 tips. One is, if you know your content, if you know what you want to say, it will feel so much better. So for those of us who are winging it, or it was someone else's presentation, or we didn't prepare, it's never going to feel good. So number 1, do you know what you need to say? Do you know what you want to say? The second is, audiences actually don't believe perfect. We need to stop trying to be perfect. We're going to flub over words. We're going to forget a slide we added at the last minute. We're going to lose our train of thought. Some of us black out for a second. And that happens because we're human. So stop trying to not be human and embrace that imperfections happen. And in fact, your imperfections make you relatable, human, honest. A lot of us, we just need to roll off of our mistakes. Oh, there was a flub. Oh, yep. My humanity showing, and move on without it letting it bother us. As soon as a speaker seems bothered by their mistake, then the audience is a little bit concerned. Right. But if a speaker makes a mistake and it doesn't seem to bother them and they move on, the audience won't remember. They don't care because you didn't care. Yeah. So stop trying to be perfect. Imperfection makes you actually more influential. And then the third is the most important speaking skill, which is eye contact. In our American culture, there is nothing that conveys confidence like eye contact. So the tip here I give is talk to one person at a time. That's the mentality when I'm speaking to a group. And mechanically, what that looks like is about 3 to 4 seconds a person. But if we can just get into mentality of don't scan the room, don't read your slides, don't stare at your shoes, don't drift over people's heads, that just one human, imperfect, just like you, one at a time, then it really grounds your presence. You get really engaged. Those are the 3.
What's the thing you said? You said imperfection makes you more, you said
influential,
more influential
and relatable. It's because you become relatable and approachable versus too polished and too scripted and no one believes it.
I think you're so right. It's not I've been in those presentations where everything is like the hair is perfect, that like it doesn't, it's like, that they probably put a lot of effort into looking at it. It's nice that they look professional, but there's always a little bit of that distrust, like it is too perfect. You're looking for something that isn't, and then you're probably also not paying as close of attention as you could be if something seems too perfect, right? Because you're like waiting for the other shoe, or you're looking for something else to focus on. So that's interesting. Those are good tips. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you said you found this. You found that you loved it and your dad was doing it. Did you always know, okay, number one, like to be an entrepreneur, to have your own business and take over this company. Did you know you wanted to do that? Or did you study this in school to be an entrepreneur, have an MBA, et cetera? Or were you like, I wanted to do something totally different, and then you fell in love with this?
And then I finally resigned to the family business.
It's different for everyone, right?
Yeah, no, it totally is. I have a really positive relationship with my parents. It has always been a loving, unconditional relationship and dynamic, which I'm really grateful for. thinking of joining a business with my dad always seemed a positive thought. And to be honest, a little bit for me, the clear path. In high school, probably in college, I graduated with a communication degree, which was actually more on writing than on speaking. I gave 2 presentations total in my years at college. Sometimes when I say communication degree, oh, you went to school for public speaking? And no, but I became a good writer and I know about communication theory.
Yeah.
When I finally onboarded to the business, there was training involved. My dad videotaped me. I got coached by my dad. So that was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
We stretched the limits of our unconditional love and we won. It was successful. But yeah, I think there was always an unspoken agreement that I would be interested in the business. When I did join, there was a little bit of a tough ask from my father that if I spend time kind of grooming you to take it over, that it's a long-term commitment for you.
Yeah.
And so when the movement blew up, he's like, are you going to quit? Did my succession strategy just bail?
Right.
The answer is no. But yeah, that's how I got involved. I think I was always excited about it, and it has been better than what I thought it would be.
Oh, that's awesome. So what would you say to, it's this really cool plane or something out my window that never comes through. It's coming through. So I'm like, what is that helicopter? What would you say to people that are looking for meaningful work, whether they're, in college and trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, or they're in their middle of the career and they're like, I'm not really loving it, or I haven't found it yet. What do you say to people like that, or, using their strengths to have a meaningful career? What would you say to people?
Yeah, I think that's hard because I'm viewing this from such a place of at 28, I found my dream job and it's my dad that handed it to me. Mm-hmm. I'm really writing his coattails of success. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how qualified I am to speak to people who didn't have the automatic route in front of them and that wasn't clear right away. My husband, it's not clear still. What are his passions? I did see a beautiful diagram once where it basically suggested where your passions are, where your gifts or skills are, and where the needs of people around you all meet. Mm-hmm. That's the sweet spot. Now, I don't necessarily think that has to happen in your paycheck. I don't know if that's going to happen in people's day jobs. Maybe that's something on the side, like what happened in my life too. But that passion, that skill, and the need colliding was a really helpful picture of what are the magic components to find yourself in this spinning top moment. I read a book once and it was such a beautiful illustration of spinning top moment where you found the center and it just spins easy. It just sustains itself and you feel like I was made to do this. Mm-hmm. I think that's the secret sauce, those 3 things.
I've seen that diagram you're talking about. I've seen it in a coaching, I have it even written. I think I have it in a journal of mine from a couple of years ago, actually from 2017, I think. I've seen that. And I've heard it explained that way before too, where if you can take what you love doing and solve someone's problem with it. So it's something that comes easy to you that you're passionate about and you're still solving a problem, like you said. So what's the need? And taking those things and combining them. Yeah, it is the little sweet spot. It is perfect little combination to go out and help the world. I think it's important for people to know that, like you said, also, just because you're not making money at it doesn't mean you can't still have it in your life and have this passion. And I think usually it ends up bringing you money, but if it doesn't or can't, or you don't want it to, just because some people don't want to put money on it because then it takes away from the fun of it. But it doesn't. It's also, if you're doing something like with your movement on the side, it fuels everything else you're doing anyway. So it's the best place to be, whether you're making a career out of it or not in the beginning, because you're always going to have that great energy and that passion, and that you're going to learn from that other thing, that hobby or whatever it is, that movement, and you're going to bring it into your everyday experiences, and it's just going to make every piece of your life a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I am super, super practical. I'm about paying bills and having a job, even if it's not the one. So I have a hard time saying, wait out for the perfect one, wait until all those 3 collide in this beautiful moment of, it's like, sometimes it doesn't happen that way. And sometimes this is what you get paid to do. And sometimes it's just the thing that fuels your soul on the side, because it's not going to pay your insurance. And, so I'm just a realist.
Yeah.
And I am not always certain that that thing that fuels you is going to be the paycheck.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to think about it both ways. And like if it can't be, and then you're pining for it, it's also not the way to find it either. So it's a good sense to have that balance and say, okay, maybe it's not, and then just keep going towards it. And eventually, maybe you can make money on it. And even if you can't, you're going to be a more well-rounded person, because you're going to have that love of whatever it is in your life. Okay, so is there anything so far that you wish you'd learned earlier in your life or career?
Well, I could take this personal character integrity, like deeply personal or career. Maybe I'll do both. My first thought is I like things instant. I'm not very patient. When I joined the business, I remember my dad was booking all these clients, and I thought, I don't know these connections. I don't have the years and years of people. Hey, remember when you trained me 2 years ago? I'm at a new company. Come train my new team. But my dad was getting those calls, and I just remember thinking, how is this business ever going to be mine? I just am coaching his clients. They're not my clients.
Yeah.
And what happened is, if I was patient enough and trusting time, credibility, building relationship, that took time to the point where now you can fast forward to now, and we look at the training calendar, and gosh darn it, most of our booked trainings are actually people who encountered me at a training a couple of years ago, bringing me on again, a reoccurring training, and thought, the evolution came. Yes. Where I was bringing in new business. Now people were asking for me to be their coach, and my dad wasn't handing me off engagements, and that took time. So I think maybe one of the lessons is just be patient. It will come if you do the good work. If you do the good work, it will come, but be patient. It was not going to be instant. The other thing I learned through my dad is to lead with grace. There are some times when there's some awkward interactions with clients and customers, and certainly in my marriage and in my kids and in my friendships, where my first instinct is not to be gracious, not to believe best intent. I'm really black and white and rigid sometimes, and I think I know the way it should be. And to lead not only my personal life and relationships with grace, but my business, where we lost a bid, and I can say, I know the company you chose, and they're great. You're going to have a great experience. Good luck. And be just gracious, and not let the wins or losses reflect on me. They are not a mirror to my worthiness. They do not reflect my self-worth. I can be gracious because my ego is not attached.
Yeah, that's super important. It's a big lesson that the sooner you can get it in your life, the easier life's going to be. But it's a tough one to get, because you when you're attached to the outcome, you take it personally, and your ego takes it personally. It's harder to get over, and then which also makes it harder for you to get past it, and to have it not happen again, because you're not learning the lesson from it, but not having the attachment to it. And then being gracious is always going to benefit you, even if you don't see the benefits right away. Just saying that, well, you're going to have a great experience anyways. And even if you don't know that they will, just be like, thank you for your time, whatever it is. Being gracious, it's never a negative thing. It's never going to come back to bite you, being gracious.
Yeah. And you know what? I've had to learn that with the movement too. You'd be surprised how many people feel a very strong way that putting "don't give up" on a sign is actually harmful. Now, if I'm not defensive and I have a posture of empathy, then I can go, I wonder if I had their life experiences, if I would see "don't give up" and actually feel shame because I want to give up. Right. And here you're telling me I shouldn't. And now I feel shame that I even had those thoughts. I mean, it's a really complicated. And there have been tough emails and criticism of our movement where people think, how on earth could that be criticized? Well, it can. Anything can, what I've learned. Yep. And to lead with grace, well, what would you put on a sign? If you drove by a sign in the middle of nowhere, what would stir courage? What would stir hope? What would encourage you? And ask them a question, open-ended question back, instead of defensive, instead of delete, instead of silencing the opinions we don't like. How can I engage with an open mind and lean in with grace, being gracious, instead of being angry or again, just silencing them. So I've had to learn that in the movement too. We've had people almost mimic our whole website and all the same products and all the same phrases. And it's really awkward to send an email and say, join us, don't copy us. We have an integrity to this movement. We want to keep it. Don't brand things. Don't put websites. Don't make a profit. This movement has an integrity. And that's a really awkward conversation too. And when they say, what? You're being selfish. Don't you want hope everywhere?
Yeah.
We're going to do these signs anyway. Grace. Okay. Good luck. Grace. I mean, that is the life lesson for me.
Mm-hmm. Always life lessons around the corner, aren't there? They don't stop coming. Okay, so what would you say? What would you say is the greatest gift? This is the hardest question for people to answer. I started doing it this year. The greatest gift you bring to the world every day, because people don't want to. So I want people to brag. I want to. What do you think the greatest thing you offer the world every day is?
My answer is different this year, maybe in the last 2 years than before. But I would say the first thing that comes to mind is nuance. That I think people want to listen to my ideas and read my essays and follow me because there is this really messy nuance that I'm willing to hold. And I think I have to practice it. I'm a recovering black and white thinker, but I am leaning into curiosity, asking questions, getting with people who vote different, think different, believe different, and holding nuance that I can be pro-life and a feminist, or I can be owning guns and for gun legislation, or I could be a pro-immigration law and against what's happening at the border, that we can be two things. Right. And we are complex and we are oversimplifying, overgeneralizing, and labeling people. And I think what I can offer in a really beautiful way is to say, it's messy, but we're leaning in. Here's the nuance. Do you hear the nuance? And I think that's why people have gravitated a little bit to me in the last couple of years is, man, you say what I've wanted to say, or dang, that's really challenging, because it's just too easy and satisfying to put people in a box and shove them to the side when we don't agree. Yeah, you're right. Yet you're making me rumble with the right things. You're making me think about the right things. So that I think I'm offering that to the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so the asking questions. I love that, because in my my book, I'm just gonna do a shameless plug right here. But one of the chapters it's curiosity, and I forget what number it is in here, but that's one of the things that's brought me where I am today, which is asking questions and how simple it is. It doesn't cost any money. It doesn't really take a lot of time. It makes everyone around you feel better because you're going to get to an understanding quicker. It's just, there's just no wrong way to ask a question and not have it benefit the other person and you. What did you mean by that? Or I'm so sorry. Can you elaborate? Tell me more, whatever it is. It's just, and it's a really easy way to make other people comfortable. And it also charges your life. Being curious it's exciting to learn more. It's exciting to connect with people on a new level. It's exciting to meet people that you would never talk to before because you asked them a question or whatever. So it's it's the undercurrent of a lot of good things. So I'm glad you brought up the asking questions.
I'm learning it. It's learned for me. I'm learning to be curious.
Yeah. It's something that kids are born with it, right? I think it ends up getting squashed because people think if I'm asking a question, I'm sometimes seen as difficult, or if someone doesn't have the answer, what are they going to say to me? But that's okay. You can say, I don't know, let's figure it out together. I would love to get back to you, or whatever it is. People are so afraid with not knowing everything and they think they look weak and vulnerable and sometimes not so smart by asking questions. And instead it's the opposite. It's like, you're wondering more about it. That's an intelligent thing to do. But we're not necessarily taught that. I mean, we're taught that we're born like that. We're taught that in school a little bit, but as you get through it a little bit more, you're just supposed to know everything, or you're told you're supposed to know, or you feel you're supposed to know everything. And then it kind of fades, and then you don't feel comfortable doing it anymore because you have been judged for it.
Yeah.
So, it's a great lesson.
Then we get in echo chambers. We get with people who think like us, and then we're not really curious to hear other people's opinions. And we limit our news sources to the ones that say what we want to hear. And then we have these biases, and then the word, I never know the word.
Algorithm?
Facebook, right? It feeds you, yes, algorithm, and it just feeds you what you want to hear over and over. And we don't get curious. because we don't know how to hold the tension of nuance. We
Yeah.
don't, yeah. So I'm with you. I think curiosity and the nuance start to go together. If we're willing to get uncomfortable, we'll start to go, maybe it's not so black and white. Maybe there's not a big line in the sand after all.
It's usually not so black and white. I think, like you said, I think it's just easier for people to think that way because it takes less time and less effort. And it's easier just to put them in a box and be like, okay, I can't because this person thinks this. It's instead of just like, why, what in your experience made you think that way? All these other things, life experiences, things you couldn't possibly know about from that person. So it's a great lesson. So if people want to find out more, first of all, your cool company that they're coaching and speaking, how can they get in touch with you? Is it only corporations? Do you do it one-on-one? And then your movement, tell everyone how they can get a hold of it and support it.
Yeah, our speaker coaching website is distinctioncommunication.com. And we do one-on-one coaching. We do small group workshops. We're all virtual. We're just starting to get clients saying we can do safe on-site. So we're just now starting to integrate back to on-site for clients. It typically is bigger businesses, but we offer public workshops where anyone can register for a seat in a program. Right now they're virtual. So if you're not in Portland, Oregon, you can actually participate, which was a silver lining of 2020. We did 0 virtual coaching before, and now we are able to serve anyone anywhere, which is a beautiful, beautiful byproduct. So distinctioncommunication.com, you can see tips there, resources there, options there. For the movement, you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Don't Give Up Signs, which, Julie, I think that's why you're like, what's the movement's name? Is it Signs? Is it Movement?
Yeah, the signs. Yeah.
I know. If I could go back and change our Instagram handle, I would, but that was created in 2017 in the middle of chaos. So I didn't know it was going to be a thing, but at Don't Give Up Signs on Facebook and on Instagram, or you can find me hearing my ideas and all that nuance at Amy N. Wolff on socials and amynwolff.com. So lots of ways.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. I'm glad I reached out. It's fun because I thought we were just going to talk about that, but all these other cool things you're doing, it's basically all the stuff that I'm talking about on my podcast. So it's been even better than I thought. So thank you.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you. I feel honored that you'd have me. Awesome on your book. I would be bad if I didn't mention.
Yeah, what is
my
that?
PR people would be very disappointed if I didn't mention that. I just launched my own book too. When did yours come out, Julie?
In February.
Okay, so I have a book baby too. My book baby came out in April. It's called Signs of Hope. It's a collection of stories about the power of hope and the power of love. It talks about the movements and stories you heard today, even in more detail, and other stories from other people who have been impacted and overcome difficulties in their life. So Signs of Hope is available now anywhere books are sold.
Let me see the cover again. I'm all about that because now I know everything that goes into it. So it's always fun to see.
I know. When you're an author, you start to look at things differently.
Oh, I love that. Sure. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yes, we need more of that too. So kudos to you. Congratulations.
The timing is undeniably perfect for something like this. It's a heartwarming, challenging book about loving everyone really well.
Oh, good one. All right. Thanks, Amy. Take care, everyone.
Thanks,
it's been a great conversation, and check out Amy and all the places she talked about, and then Signs of Hope. It's more inspiration. So thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.